Deepfakes have been a growing problem for a long time, but now it seems like none of us are safe. AI technology has advanced and become widely available enough that now, seemingly anyone can create deepfakes of anyone else. And it's already had some pretty concerning consequences. But while this specific iteration may be new, the underlying fears and problems have actually been around for a long time. To get a better understanding of what's really going on, we're taking a deeper look at the modern deepfake problem, the long-held fear of copies of yourself being controlled by someone else, what's really driving this whole problem, and how we might be able to start fixing things. People have photoshopped images of celebrities or even themselves since the beginning of photography. The name Photoshop comes from the old Photoshops where that work was done back in the day. But as technology has advanced, the ability to not only edit existing images, but to create entirely new ones has become more and more accessible.
I looked on Twitter and one of those kind of videos popped up and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Some people have just used this to essentially create a digital avatar to exist as online. Others, however, have more sinister intentions. Using AI image generators to create deepfake videos and photos of people, particularly celebrities, has been an ongoing issue.
It's just weird to think that like if someone looked up, my name, that's also what pops up too.
But it recently hit a fever pitch with the rollout of X, formerly Twitter's AI chatbot Grok's ability to immediately create sexually suggestive photos of anyone on the platform. Once users figured out the existence of this feature, it quickly led to it being used to harass women across the platform, from celebrities to regular women who had just posted a selfie, to apparently even children. HobbyLeaks estimated that there was roughly one non-consensual sexualized image per minute during an observational review. While the harassment is in and of itself terrifying, these deepfakes also touch on another level of horror. The fear that comes from the idea of there being a copy of yourself out in the world under someone else's control.
Stealing my is a red line.
The fear of there being another version of you out there that you don't have any control over goes way back. Doppelgangers have long been seen as an omen of one's imminent death, for example. Across film and television, we can see so many examples of this, and by taking a deeper look at them, we can also get a better understanding of what's really driving the people doing this harassment. The evil twin trope has long been used to explore the misery that can come from someone that looks just like you being out in the world, often under the guise of being you, doing things that you don't agree with but have no power to stop.
He switched on me! No one believes me!
Unfortunately for Oscar, You've Got the Wrong Twin was a very popular alibi.
On Friends, Phoebe had to deal with her sister doing this a number of times, but one was actually surprisingly close to the deepfake problem we're encountering now. Ursula was filming adult movies using Phoebe's name, leading everyone to believe that she was the one in them.
You're making one right now!
Let's go, Phoebe.
And you're using my name.
Since Friends was a sitcom, the outcome was rather upbeat. Phoebe decided to make the most of it and pick up all of Ursula's checks for the work since they were in Phoebe's name. But things can get much more twisted, particularly when it comes to clones. It has never been more vital to be able to separate fact from fiction, especially when it comes to the news. Whether you're trying to understand the news beyond the headlines or just trying to research a movie, you know how important it is to get the full picture. And that's why ground news is such an important tool to have these days. You already know how useful we found ground news's ability to compare headlines and assess the bias and ownership behind sources. Another great feature of theirs we love is the factuality score, which provides an overall assessment of a given publication's reporting practices as evaluated based on their use of credible sources, the timeliness of their corrections, and how contextually complex their stories are. For example, when researching for this video, we were able to take a look at all of the different sources for the stories on this topic, and found an interesting split. Headlines from high factuality outlets tended to focus more on the harm caused to the victims. For example, woman recounts dehumanizing experience after discovering disturbing use of Elon Musk's Grok AI. Women are not consenting to this. Whereas sources with only mixed factuality were often more focused on clickbaity headlines focusing on Elon, like Elon Musk's X blasted by European regulators. In this, we can see how high factuality sources are more focused on informing readers, while mixed factuality outlets are more often willing to shift the focus to whatever they think will get clicks. The factuality score combines with all of Ground News's other features to really allow you to quickly get a top-level view of a topic and the sources so that you're able to have a much more comprehensive view of a story before you begin diving in. Ground News helps you understand what's really going on without feeling overwhelmed. To get access to all of these features and more for only $5 a month, that's less than one bag of candy at the movie theater. Subscribe to Ground News using this QR code or our link groundnews.com/take or by clicking our link in the description. You'll get 40% off the Vantage plan, where you'll enjoy unlimited access to worldwide coverage. It's more important than ever to stay informed, so don't miss this opportunity to make sure that you always have the full picture on every story, on screen and off. Clones can exist in a similar space as evil twins, but can also present separate issues. A clone of oneself made by oneself often presents a moral dilemma, as they're usually created to suffer in place of their originator in some way. But a clone made of you by someone else that you have no control over is scary in a multitude of ways.
They created the tethered so they could use them to control the ones above.
Black Mirror explored a version of this that feels closer and closer to our current issues, where someone else essentially digitally clones you so that they can control you. Robert Daly, unhappy in his regular life, creates digital copies of people from the real world in a game that he has complete power over. This through line of a desire for control over another also exists in the idea of the fembot, a human-like female robot created to allow their male counterparts to have total power over them.
She's part of a continuum, so version 9.6 and so on, and each time they get a little bit better. And to do that, you end up partially formatting so the memories go, but the body survives, and Ava's body is a good one.
The Stepford Wives, which was originally a book and has been adapted into 2 film versions, is one of the most iconic examples of this. In it, the husbands want versions of their wives without all of those pesky human elements like thoughts and opinions, and so they replace them with idealized robot clones.
We take a gloomy, dissatisfied woman. Then, he gently places her in our female improvement system.
While all of these versions of cloning often have some overtly sexualized element, we can see that at their core, they're all really about having dominance over another person who had previously seemed uncontrollable. If all of these people creating the deepfakes wanted was adult material to enjoy, they could certainly use the image generators to create randomly generated people within the images that don't particularly resemble any specific real-world person. But they're very specifically choosing real women, and often having the content generated as direct replies to their posts to make sure they see them, specifically because their true aim is to feel like they're wielding control over these women. The Association of Alberta Sexual Assault Services writes, research indicates that while there are many types of people who offend sexual violence, with varying ideologies for offending, the underlying motivation of sexual assault is to degrade, humiliate, and dominate the victim. Therefore, there is a strong connection between sexual violence, power, and gender inequality. This is why claims that all of this is just the result of loneliness fall short and continue to ignore the deeper problems at hand. And telling the victims to just ignore it as trolling or to just log off ignores the wide-ranging effects of this harassment and the fact that it's all born out of these issues that are very present outside of the digital realm as well. Matt Tenbarge noted in a piece for Spitfire News, AI sexual abuse and the lack thereof of enforcement mirrors how authority figures and communities already respond to other forms of sexual violence. Most times, perpetrators aren't held responsible. In fact, they may be rewarded. Cliff Stenhauer of National Cybersecurity Alliance told Rolling Stone, allowing users to alter images of real people without notification or permission creates immediate risks for harassment, exploitation, and lasting reputational harm. When those alterations involve sexualized content, particularly where minors are concerned, the stakes become exceptionally high with profound and lasting real-world consequences. So knowing all of this, is there anything we can do to stop this problem? Even for those of us who do not want to participate in or interact with deepfake content of any kind, sexualized or otherwise. Because it's becoming so ubiquitous, it can feel difficult to avoid even when you are trying to. One step we can take is to stop supporting platforms that allow this type of content, and to push others and companies who use and fund them to step away as well. In another piece for Spitfire News, Tenbarge writes, despite the growing scale of this crisis, there has been remarkably little response from advertisers, politicians, and investors who are using and profiting from X and XAI. Many of these companies and figures have pledged to fight against deepfake sexual abuse, but nonetheless maintain financial and professional ties to Musk's X, running ads on it, posting daily to it, and funding it with hundreds of millions of dollars so it can keep growing. These ads, posts, and payouts are enabling a massive pile of abusive imagery, one that just keeps growing by the day. There's also clearly a need for laws and regulations to quickly catch up to our current moment instead of lagging behind and falling short. There has been some movement on this end, as Miles Klee noted in his piece for Rolling Stone, writing, "Authorities in France and India are probing the matter, while the UK's Office of Communications signaled on Monday that it plans to investigate whether X and XAI violated regulations meant to protect internet users in the country." But none of this has really led to much concrete change yet. There has been some mention of X blocking content in places where it's illegal, but it doesn't seem to have done much to stem the flood of harassment. We have already seen some wins in the deepfake arena, however.
Control your wives! It's not working! It's not working!
Beloved rapper Megan Thee Stallion recently won a lawsuit against a blogger who, amongst other things, had apparently directed people to a deepfake video of Megan in an effort to disparage her. Megan's fearlessness in standing up for herself and fighting back against those who seek to tear her down has already put her at the forefront of a movement to make her industry and the world at large a safer place for women. To learn more, you can check out our previous video on her. She showcases how the way forward isn't to just ignore the problem and hope it goes away, but to defend ourselves and each other.
And stop using my name. And shame on you. And shame on all of you. You're disgusting. Especially you with that.
That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.